cents. The retail price of LPG will now be $154.38 for the 100-pound cylinder, $43.70 for the 25-pound cylinder, $38.62 for the 22-pound cylinder, and $30.11 for the 20-pound. Government capped the retail price of gasoline and diesel at $4.48 a litre and $4.03 a litre, respectively, to bring some level of predictability to the retail prices and shield consumers from the full increase of refined petroleum products. Despite being dealt a blow by the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, Deputy Prime Minister and MP for St. Michael's Southeast, Santia Bradshaw, says community intervention programs have been effective in that constituency. She says they have resulted in a reduction in the level of violence. The Deputy Prime Minister was speaking on the sidelines of the launch of the Community Assistance Program by Supreme Counseling for Personal Development at the Golden Rock Community Centre in the Pine.
COVID would have put a kind of setback on a lot of the programs in terms of interaction that we would have been having previously, but I feel very strongly that over the next few months, once things continue along this current trajectory, that we should certainly be able to have more activities, get people outside, get people burning off a lot of that energy, creating spaces within the community that people can free up themselves and again burn off a lot of pent-up energy that they might have. And I think that, again, these types of programs are certainly helping to ease the pressure on parents, because parents on a Saturday morning know that they can send their children here. Their children are going to not only be in the program, be getting some kind of wholesome information, but we also make sure that the children are fed.
A local tune of the crop has caught the attention and has been translated to the pages of Forbes magazine. You Like Mobby, sung by Bruce Lee Almighty and produced by Noise Boys, has been highlighted, and the story told of Mobby. One of the Noise Boys, Everson Brown, told CBC News, "It is a good feeling."
I feel great about the recognition from Forbes, being a team member of Noise Boys and Forbes being an international media company to recognize us for our track, our song, being Road March of 2020. You know, it is a great feeling to be seen by an international media company.
The appearance of the article came as a surprise because they did not know it was coming.
I had no idea that the article was being written. I was actually home at the point in time when I found out about it, my business partner, because Noise Boys is a team of three. He messaged in our group chat and he screenshot the article and sent it to me, and I was taken aback again. Like, it is Forbes. It is Forbes, a major international media company, and being a producer from the small island of Barbados and being seen and recognized at that level is a great feeling.
Brown says that the Barbados is on the world stage despite some people still having a small island mentality. However, many are doing work which is worthy of recognition.
We have to realize that we are there. We are there. So I'm not too shocked that Forbes had their eyes on Barbados. With BTMI doing the work that they've done, with influencers coming to come over and taking part in the festival. Now we have soca as an international brand across the world, with festivals from Trinidad, Barbados, Grenada, Fancy Mass. Like, there are so many. It is now a circuit. There is a carnival circuit. And now we have Miami Carnival. So I think there is a greater reach out there, and we have to come to the realization now that although, yes, we're a small island, in today's world, we're not that far away. They're basically at our doorsteps. So I think the opportunity is there. I think what we have to do as a people is come to the realization that we are no longer a small speck. We are a mighty speck on the world stage.
The producer also had some words of advice for the local artists, noting that Bruce listened to others and kept kept improving.
Local performers have to come to the realization that we have to put more effort into our craft. It's not just about the glitz and the glams. Bruce put in a lot of work. Although people see it as a bashment soca song, and bashment soca essentially having a stigma to it, it is actually a lot of work, and these fellas do put in a lot of work behind the scenes, and they have been essentially honing their stagecraft over time. And if you have watched Bruce's performances over the season, he has just kept on growing and growing and growing and growing with each performance, taking in the feedback from his team, his management, and his friends who would consult him on how he's doing within the season. And I think more artists have to do reflection like that to help grow within the industry and be part of the mighty spec and the world stage. So it will take time. Talent is a part of it, but hard work is just as important.
The genre, the Noise Boys believe bashment has the edge because of the effort being put in by the artists who perform in it.
They are putting in the work. They are going on lives, getting feedback from their fans, communicating with their fans. You know, even though if you look at what they do full sets now. It's not just run on stage and jump up, jump up, jump up. They're incorporating different genres. You know, they're becoming performers, and that's important. So I think all artists right now should actually take a page from their book. And the fact that bashment soca artists actually release songs year round instead of just waiting on crop over. They release music year round. So I think we have to put our hands to the till and get to work.
You're watching the CBC Morning Report. Coming up, Trinidad and Tobago gets its first female police commissioner.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email.
Trinidad and Tobago has appointed its first female police commissioner. She is Erla Herwood Christopher, who was confirmed following a unanimous vote in the House of Representatives on Friday. We get more in this TTT report.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley led the motion to approve this country's first female commissioner of police, saying government was not surprised that she was at the top of the merit list from the Police Service Commission.
That this officer is highly qualified and very experienced, and therefore we are not entirely surprised that she would have found favor with the Service Commission, who would have listed her as the top applicant.
Dr. Rowley, though, pointed out that an issue arose since Ms. Christopher was due to retire from the police service in May after turning 60 years of age. But he noted that there is a workaround in the law which allows for an extension of 1 year in the first instance, and following a review, it could be further extended for another 2 years.
The imminent fact of the retirement of Mrs. Herwood Christopher as a 1st Division police officer by the operation of Section 74(2) of the Police Service Act neither impacts nor disqualifies a nomination, nor indeed the House voting to affirm that nomination for her opponent.
Opposition MP Dr. Rudal Munilal said the opposition had no issue with her qualifications, noting that it did support her appointment as acting police commissioner in December. But he said as police commissioner, she would have an uphill task due to the crime and criminality facing the country.
I think there's a song, every move you make, every step you take. We'll be watching every move, every step, and we reserve the right to be critical, to scrutinize the work of the executive.
Ms. Christopher, who has been acting as Commissioner of Police since December, received 36 votes for her appointment in the lower house, with no one voting against and no abstentions.
The police in Hanover, Jamaica have arrested 3 more people in connection with the murder of a 9-year-old girl. TVJ's Anthony Love reports.
This is the road turned dirt track 9-year-old Nikita Noel traversed every afternoon after being dropped off by her driver. In communities like Kew and Hanover, there are drop-off points due to the deployed road conditions. From the drop-off point, it took our news team 9 minutes walk to the location where Nikita's lifeless body was discovered, which was roughly minutes away from her home. The long walk home is the reality for several other children in rural Jamaica.
We have taken steps at our institution to ensure the safety of children. In Nikita's case, we can verify that she was picked up by her taxi, dropped off at her gate.
Antoinette White is the principal of the Esher Primary School. On Thursday, the trauma support team, along with representatives from the Education Ministry and other agencies, visited the institution to offer support to students.
Every time I call in the evening.
Tributes poured in. At Nikita's desk, flowers. Her classmates also shared memories, drawings, and kind words.
It is heartrending, and I think we don't have any words to describe how we really feel as a region having to deal with this a second time.
While the school grieves back home, relatives are also finding it difficult to come to terms with the 9-year-old's death. Residents showed us Nikita's dog. We were told routinely he would meet her down the road and accompany her home. Last night, the dog was found with its legs bound.
Some people live some life already, but you live no life yet now. Get me a talk about that, bro.
The youngster was found in bushes sometime after 7 Wednesday night. Her mother, Nadia Edwards, became suspicious and alerted the police sometime after 4 when Nikita did not come home.
Former President of Guyana, David Granger, has raised objections to the assigned judge for his $2.6 billion libel suit against the Guyana Times, Starbrook News, Kaitra News, and public relations specialist Christopher Kit Nascimento. More now in this HGP TV report.
The former president has filed an appeal at the full court of Demerara against Justice Singh's decision to hear the case. In the lawsuit filed in 2021, the former president alleged that he was defamed in letters relating to the March 2020 general and regional elections and the events that unfolded. These letters were sent to the newspaper's editors by Nascimento and were later published. Apart from the $1 billion award and for damages, he wants the court to grant him aggravated and exemplary damages, interest, cost, and any such further or other orders the court deems. When the matter was called on Thursday before High Court Judges Damon Young and Gino Prasad, Ford submitted that Justice Singh determined that he will hear the libel suit without the consent of the parties, in particular that of the claimant, Granger. However, the senior counsel, via a letter sent to Justice Singh, stated that his client did not consent to him being both the pre-trial review and case management conference judge. He recalled that the first CMC in the lawsuit came at an end on June 15, 2022, and that Justice Singh purported to exercise powers vested to him under Part 38 pre-trial review of the Civil Procedure Rules of 2016. Since the lawsuit is up for trial on February 13th and 14th, and Granger does not want Justice Singh to proceed, his lawyer asked the full court to stay the commencement of the trial until the determination of the appeal. The judges also indicated that they need time to peruse the records of the appeal and to consider the submissions made by the party, saying the trial is set to start on April 27. According to Granger's counsel, the attacks against him through opinions published by the newspapers were, and I quote, relentless and displayed a complete disregard for the truth, end of quote. Granger said that the publication suggested, among other things, that he was of unsound mind, a liar involved in criminal and illegal activities and practices, and unfit to be President of Guyana. The former president has fired
in Pakistani city of Peshawar are stepping up efforts to prevent more attacks. That's after a suicide attack on a mosque killed more than 100 people. Al Jazeera's Saeed Bag says got access to the police unit searching for the armed criminals.
They arrive at the outskirts of town at a small village. Police are acting on information provided to them by locals, and they want to move quickly. Open up, he says. Women to one side. And in they go. They're always accompanied by a female officer. Police are looking for anything untoward. In some cases, people don't have ID cards and no registration papers.
Considering the circumstances, we are carrying out orders of our superiors by conducting search and strike operations for the sake of peace and safety. In Hakimabad, we've carried out house-to-house searches and arrested 8 to 10 suspects. People who are not registered, we investigate them at the police station.
People here are poor and there's a transient population. While some officers search homes, others stand guard outside. Authorities here tell us since there's been an increase of attacks against police, they're not taking any chances. These officers, every time they leave their base, have to be armed, move in a convoy and be ready for any potential attack against them. Police come across a group of brothers without papers or IDs. They're taken away for further questioning.
We appreciate the efforts made by policemen in conducting search operations to find out if any militants or criminals are hiding in our area, keeping in view the new surge of violence in the country.
Back at their base, police show us their equipment. Many of it is old. Some of us buy our own bulletproof vests, says Officer Waqas. This is my personal vest. The Pakistani Taliban say they've carried out over 40 attacks against security personnel in January alone. These men say it's only a matter of time until they're attacked.
At least 23 people have died in hundreds of forest fires in Chile. Nearly 1,000 people have been injured as a blistering heat wave is complicating efforts to control the blazes. The fires are raging across the south central regions. The government has extended emergency orders.
Fast-spreading fires burn everything in their path. Forest, farms and homes. 2,300 firefighters have been deployed to control hundreds of wildfires. Nearly half of them are burning out of control.
We are working on multiple sources of forest fires that, added to the weather, high temperatures and a lot of wind, have caused great destruction, both in vegetation and buildings.
The fires began on Wednesday, destroying nearly 100,000 acres of land. Helicopters have been deployed, but too late to save some dozens of homes. More than 1,000 people are staying in shelters.
I left my house with only the clothes I was wearing. There was no time to set up a fire break, nothing. I think everyone here went through the same situation. The wind speed changed very fast, and everything suddenly started to burn. It was all very fast.
Chile's government is now seeking international support.
We have spoken to several governments to reinforce the efforts that were previously being made with the companies that provide the services. These requests include the search for equipment to bolster the fleet of brigades that can reinforce the work on the ground. We are in contact with several countries in the region, such as Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay.
President Gabriel Boric cut short his summer vacation, his government extending a state of disaster. It allows the military to mobilize to help battle the fires as the number of dead continues to rise.
Coming up in 9 minutes, when you join me here for Morning Barbados, we'll take a look at the YMCA and its agenda for 2023. Also today, we'll meet the man who wrote the book Black History Walks. He'll talk to us about why it was so important to document it and why he has those walks in the UK. So stand by to hear about that. And when our relationship expert joins us this morning, we want to know what to do when there's a third party in that relationship. So many of you are going to want to hear her advice. Those and a whole lot more straight ahead at 6:30 on Morning Barbados. We're back with more on the Morning Report in just a moment.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then
Government is bolstering its cyber defense systems in the wake of recent cyber attacks at several of its institutions. According to the Minister of Industry, Innovation and Science and Technology, Davidson Ishmael, a lot of progress has been made in securing networks. However, he admits there is always room for improvement.
We're nowhere near where we should be in terms of our maturity overall, but we are making significant strides to get us where we should be. And it doesn't mean that we're a victim. It doesn't mean that we're open. There's no open day on Barbados relative to our cyberspace and our cybersecurity. We have significant infrastructure in place. We have a data center that is fully protected. We have several critical assets across the government service that are protected in many different ways and to many different degrees. Things I can't share with you, of course, but we have several layers of protection on the critical assets of Barbados. So I would say to Barbadians, you don't have to fear that your data or your information is going to be breached in any significant way. But what I would say to us is that the fact remains that cybersecurity is a dynamic area.
The minister says that training of employees is extremely important going forward.
Cybersecurity training is a major component of the spending that we're going to be doing and that we've budgeted for this fiscal year coming up, 2023-2024. Cybersecurity training is a major component of that across the public service and then and the wider Barbados as well. As you rightly said, there are many times where some of these incidents start by somebody just clicking a link that they should not have clicked, and a little bit of public education, a little bit of knowledge being shared, a little bit of training. And I've actually asked my team, I've given instructions to my team just to have those conversations with the public service and of course with wider Barbados. And I said, create little videos, short videos that say, hey, don't click on a malicious link from somebody you don't know. The different little things. Some people know this already, but there's still a lot of persons out there who are not as au fait technologically as we would like them to be. Our job as the ministry responsible for innovation and for science and for technology is to bring our people along as much as possible.
Barbados is expected to gain significant exposure from an event being held here in June called FABA Fest 2023. It's being billed as the biggest event on the calendar of historically black colleges and universities. FABA, which is for alumni by alumni, is described as a first of its kind destination festival and celebration of excellence. The event is to be held from the 15th to the 18th of June and was launched at the Lime Grove Lifestyle Center. The founder, LaShonda Ricks, is on the island and not only fell in love with the country but saw it as the perfect location for the first ever FABA Fest.
That graduated from an historically black college or university in the United States. And for me, every time I meet someone, and I've already met a couple, it's the embodiment of excellence. We strive to do great things. And so I wanted to kind of capture that spirit, bring it to Barbados, couple it with the excellence here, and create a time where we can just all come together and have fun, celebrate who we are, how great we are, how beautiful we are, how bold and fabulous we are. And so that's what this festival will be, and I hope that we're able to capture that spirit.
Well, the BTMI is a partner in the Fab Fest 23. U.S. Director of the BT, UC Skeet, says to be the first and only destination for the event is significant for the country.
This really is the continuation of a very strong relationship that Barbados has had, not just with the HBCUs, but also with LaShonda, and of course with black travelers across the U.S. This is especially significant for Barbados because as we look to diversify our audiences across the US market, we recognize that the African American traveler and black travelers in general are making a significant impact on travel, whether it's an economic impact. And when we look at HBCUs alone, if we just isolate HBCUs in the US, they generate in economic activity in the US $14.8 billion. And I mean, just let that number sink in. It really speaks to the opportunity that exists for us as a destination to host this type of a festival.
The Education Ministry has responded to calls to provide greater access to online resources for teachers. Chief Education Officer Ramona Archer-Bradshaw reassured teachers and students their calls have not gone unanswered, pledging to provide increased resources. The commitment came during the RF National Distinguished Teachers Awards, where 10 teachers were recognized.
The calls for the ministry to provide greater access for teachers to online resources have been heard. The calls for students to have greater access to textbooks online have also been heard. Consequently, the plans for the introduction and expansion of online educational resources are at an advanced stage.
Dr. Archer Bradshaw says parents of children with a range of special education needs can also look forward to expanded access to educational facilities.
With access to these expanded facilities comes a need to ensure that the quality of instruction is not compromised. It is against this backdrop that the Ministry of Education is working with the Urdiston Teachers Training College to provide more meaningful and relevant professional development opportunities for teachers through its collaboration with the National Transformation Initiative and Coursera.
Well, green reigned as Set D won Sports Day at the Dighton Griffith Secondary School. Set D tallied 1,182 points ahead of Set A with 1,152, Set B 973.5 and Set C 792.5. Anne-Marie Burke was there for the 100 meters.
Let's go right into the fast lane. This is the under 15 girls 100 meters, and she was the tallest of them all and the fastest of them all. Set C's Damara Calendar in the yellow had it in the bag from early. She led from start to finish. Her teammate Trinity Richards comes in for second, and right over her shoulder Makita Magaro from Set A was in third. To the boys on the 15 race, and everyone looked intent on being a champion. So no doubt the pace was hot like fire. No clear winner established in the early stages before Trinico Nurse on the inside in the red shirt of Set A surged ahead. Set D's Nathan got down behind him and Xavier Mon, and they will finish in second and third. The under 17 girls sprint will be a Set D domination. After all, look at all those green shirts. 4 of the 7 athletes, and it was pretty even in the first few meters before Kezia Mona and Rian Maloney changed gears. These two distinguished themselves as the top 2. Maloney, then Mona, and their teammate Tashana McMillan easily claimed third. It was a full field for the boys on the 17 race, and like girls, there was a dominant set. This time it was a house posse of Set A. 5 athletes. Here they come fast and furious with Deshaun Harris out front. Tracking him is Kobe Joel Davis, and this is how the story will be written with Set D's Cristiano Cox holding on for third. And the title of fastest girl at Dighton Griffith will be decided in this race, the under 20 girls. And she's in the middle of the field, in the red. Soraya Nichols, taking a stumble as a pothole was in her lane, but she regained composure to hold off the challenge of Alyssa Weeks and Jada Brathwaite. Under 20 boys, again, the title of fastest in the school was up for grabs, and these boys were not playing. Watch them coming our way with top speed. And it's not going to be decided that easily. The final meters will make all the difference. And it'll be Mackay King and Damani Lane photo finish style. King edges lane with Omari Wharton in there for third. That's a wrap from Dighton Griffith. Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
Let's take a quick look at the weather conditions now as recorded earlier at the Met Office of the Grantley Adams International Airport. What's in the forecast for us today and tonight? At the moment, 24.4 degrees Celsius. Cloudy with a slight haze, and the winds are coming from the east. I love it, at 34 kilometers an hour. Expect a low tide this morning at 8 minutes after 10 and again at 6 minutes to 11 tonight, and a high tide at 29 minutes after 4 this afternoon. Seas today are moderate to rough in open water, with swells ranging from 2.5 to 3 meters and increasing. Operators, small craft operators and sea bathers, please exercise caution. Barbados today partly sunny with a few brief isolated light showers. Barbados tonight should be a mix of clear skies and clouds with the occasional brief scattered light shower. A look at some forecast conditions for some international cities. Well, that does it for today's edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Pearson Bowen. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome indeed to Monday. Would you believe it already? It is Monday, February 6, 2023. I'm Pearson Bowen. Welcome so much indeed. Good having you company. Hope you had a marvelous weekend. I surely did. Christopher and Michael, they celebrated their 9th birthday yesterday. They had a great time. So boys, congratulations on your 9th birthday. So what about you? What were your celebrations on the weekend? And whatever you chose to do, I hope you had a really marvelous time. But most of all, that you took time for that four-letter word, rest. I know it's elusive, but as much as possible, try to get it in. Now, coming up today, we'll be looking at the work of the YMCA. They have an agenda, packed agenda for 2023. We want to share that with you. And the man who wrote the book, Black History Walks, will join us this morning to take a look at his ongoing efforts to bring about awareness of our black history and the places and the spaces that made that difference indeed. Our relationship expert will join us this morning. We want to take a look at that third party. Yes, whether it be the friend, the mother-in-law, the somebody gets involved. And so what are some of the challenges that one could face, and how does one work one way out of those challenges? Our relationship coach will talk to us about that. There's a Barbadian living in the United Kingdom who will join us this morning as we connect with Beijing Zafar, and another who's now living in Malaysia, who was in Russia of all places. That story is one that I'm sure you're going to enjoy to hear about today. And this morning, the big man out of Trinidad and Tobago, as they get ready to celebrate Carnival, Sherwin Winchester. Sherwin Winchester will be on our show this morning. Don't you dare touch your dial, as they say indeed. But let's get started now by looking at the work of the YMCA. Joining us as we talk about the program for 2023 is the president, Carlos Moore, and the program coordinator, Akil Payne. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Pearson.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Carlos, let's talk a little bit, put into perspective the ongoing work of the YMCA and why the YMCA today is still relevant.
Okay, so good morning again. Good morning to Barbados and Barbadians all over the world. So the YMCA in Barbados is one of the oldest chapters in the world. It's been around 142 years. So we have seen over the history, obviously a lot of peaks and valleys, as a people, as a society, specifically as a country as well. And, it's just an honor and a privilege to have my name associated, and I'm sure Akil feels the same, his name associated with this particular period and these specific challenges that we face. We have obviously, like, any other organization and charitable organization specifically, have had to make some adjustments through and coming out of COVID. That being said, I think that we have definitely answered the call, and we are in the space of reimagining the YMCA. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of us, I'll say above a particular age group, have very fond memories of what the YMCA was, what it has been, what is delivered to us as individuals or as communities, or more widely as a country. I think that with the changes, not just brought about by COVID, but technology, cultural shifts, etc., we need to reimagine what the Young Men's Christian Association is as an association, and by extension, what that image can bring to Barbados with respect to the current challenges that we face as a country.
It is good to see two young faces at home right now this morning, indeed.
Thanks.
Because you're welcome. Because oftentimes the perception was it was an old boys club, and here it is. You're saying no, but you are established to provide assistance, and in so many different ways. Give us a broad idea as to the number of areas in which the YMCA continues to render assistance.
Okay, so and I'll let Akil jump in quickly, but just broadly, as you had opened the news today, we saw another initiative with respect to creating what we would call a safe space. The YMCA actually launched our safe space initiative back in November 2021, where we are in the process of transforming the YMCA campus, as I like to call it, and where we have created the longest continuous mural in the Eastern Caribbean. And we have introduced a community garden and composting station. We continue to provide Eye on the White programs. Once again, just stepping back to COVID again, and what COVID has taught us is that we were able to introduce some online programs as well. So, we are adapting so that we can continue to provide. We have also provided, I'll say almost 200, maybe a little bit more than 200 care packages over the last year and a half or so to families in need. And we have another such initiative at the end of February, so just open for donations, just to let Barbados know. But we've been trying to make sure that we provide assistance in tangible ways, within the context of our constraints, if you want to put it that way. I'll also say we've been able to provide some, I use the word assistance loosely, to corporate Barbados, because I think most people in corporate Barbados know that environment, social, and governance, is a big principle right now that a lot of businesses are adopting, and we have some partnerships with some corporations, where they're able to exercise those principles and grow within those principles through a partnership with the YMCA.
And so, Akil, the president, just broadly touched on a lot of the work that the YMCA is doing, but you specifically as program coordinator, you're responsible for a number of projects. Walk us through some of the things that people of Barbados can get engaged with the YMCA.
Well, currently we have a host of diverse programs currently happening at the YMCA. As we speak, as Carlos would have briefly mentioned, the Eye on the White program, which is a program that has vocational training in corporate cosmetology as well, and academic courses. Also, we have the after-school program. The after-school program is divided into two sections. A section for the secondary school, as we like to call it, the Young Leaders program, preparing young people to be leaders in the future. And that is all young people who are succeeding, but also people who need a little help along the way. We also have the primary section, which is divided into a homework assistance program and also an extracurricular program where they play sports after the homework is finished. The one we have prior to we should mention the care package is actually on the 25th of February, and as I said, we're open for donations for that initiative. We also have the annual summer camp, which is coming up this year, first time in a while, and many Barbadians would have remembered the great summer camps at YMCA, and we're looking to bring that back this year in an ever stronger way. We also have many sporting programs. Currently, we have the Mini League, that is a basketball program held each Saturday at the YMCA from 4 p.m. And Carlos Moore is one of the coaches that have been very present in that program over the many years.
So all of these programs, who do you target and how can people be a part of it?
To be a part of the programs, you can contact the YMCA. Our office number is 537-0118. Or you can send us an email at office@barbadosymca.org. And the programs in YMCA, our target is young people, youth. However, we like to impact all people. So, for example, our after-school program or sports programs target youth in particular. But our Eye on the White program, once you're over the age of 16 years old, you can join our IOD-wide programs.
Let's talk about delivery of services now for a second, because, you know, times are as they are. Technology has found its way into a lot of what we do. How do you do that? How do you deliver your services so that a man in St. Lucie doesn't have to travel all the way to Bridgetown to necessarily be a part of the activities?
So briefly, Carlos would have mentioned that we have a few online courses. For example, in our IOD-wide program, we have a strategic marketing course, which is available to persons online. And in the care packages as well, we actually assemble the care package at the YMCA, but we then distribute the care packages to families in need.
So Carlos, you talked a little bit about reimagining who you are so that you become relevant to today and you become relevant to those who you serve. What are some of the other ideas going into 2023 that you think you need to pay greater attention to so that that reimagination becomes active and it becomes relevant?
Right. So I think, so thanks for the question. I think that the next phase, ongoing phase that we're working on is engagement. Engagement at all levels. So yes, we do have these programs, but you know, you wouldn't light a candle and put it under a bushel. It wouldn't make any sense, right? So we need to have these programs be engaged at the level of the participants, be engaged at the level of volunteers, be engaged at the level of, you know, whether it be corporate sponsors or, you know, individual philanthropists that exist within society. But I think engagement is something we're going to be spending a lot more time on this year. Because, you know, I think we have a fairly solid background. I mean, as I said before, 140 years of history to start with, even outside of what we, you know, may have as a facility. And to kind of think beyond just the facility or the campus of the YMCA as being the YMCA, but the YMCA being its membership body, what that membership body looks like, how far the, dare I say, tentacles extend within society, within our schools, within our churches, within our communities, within our businesses, and just really re-engaging, you know, I can simply put it that way. You know, obviously that will take different forms. We do have a social media presence, and we do have a website as well. So, you know, and then we will also be staging, obviously know that we can have activities, etc., you know, engagement of those persons who are able to actually physically come down to the YMCA and be a part of whatever activity it is we might be having going on.
Engagement, 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 enrollment as well. So folks, now that Carlos has said it, they have a social media presence, they have a website as well. So for those of you who need to know more about not just the YMCA and the work of the YMCA, but the programs of the YMCA and how you can benefit from engagement with those programs as well, we encourage you to go to the website at YMCA, or to find them on social media and get to know more. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us. It's almost like an introduction, because I'm sure that throughout the year we will be connecting with you some more. Carlos Moore, the president of the YMCA, and Akil Payne, the program coordinator. Thank you so much for joining us, and continue doing well what you're doing through the organization, the YMCA. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome indeed. You're welcome. Morning Barbados takes a break here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Yeah, I was here, just keeping quiet.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
14 and a half minutes now to go to 7 o'clock as we turn our attention to the next chapter. The next chapter as written by Anthony Warner, who has written the book Black History Walks Volume 1. So he joins us right now. Good morning to you, Mr. Warner. Let's see if we can get your voice coming through. Again, let's see. Good morning, Mr. Warner.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
There you are. 3434. Yes, I can. Knock at the door. So good to see you. Welcome to Barbados, first of all, and talk to me a little bit about who you are.
I run Black History walking tours in London since 2007. We have 15 walking tours, a Black History bus tour, and a Black History river cruise on River Thames. And we also have a school textbook out, which is used in schools right now, which teaches Black History at GCSE level, 16 to 18 years old. And I just did a book called Black History Walks Volume 1.
Why do you do all that?
To redress the imbalance, because when I first went to London back in the 80s, I did a whole bunch of those typical London tourist walks. So you did the Jack the Ripper walk, the Dickens walk, whatever walk it was, and there was never any mention of any black, and I thought, this can't be right. So I actually thought, what can I do to address the situation? So 2007, I set up Black History Walks, and now we have like 15 walks, bus tours, river cruises across the capital, which tens of thousands of people have enjoyed.
That would have required, to my mind, a lot of research, as you needed to know you can't just take people on a walk and you tell them a whole set of fairy tale. So talk to me a little bit about compiling all of it so that you are competent enough to be able not just to condense it into a book, but to actually go on walks.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the first things that I did is speak to old people. So I spoke to my mum, my dad, my grandparents, and asked them, what was life for you when you were like 10, 12, 15, 21, 35, etc.? And those stories gave me ammunition to kind of do more research. So once you get that personal story from the people that you know, it sticks in your mind. And then you can do further research when it comes to books and lectures, etc. And then I combine it all into kind of a compelling, interesting story, which I tell in these various walks.
What's perhaps one of the most unbelievable story that was told to you that you had to check out and to document?
Well, there's a Barbadian man called Dr. Cecil Belfield Clark from Barbados. He won a scholarship in 1914, right? Just before World War I starts, right? Or just before it starts, right? He goes to Cambridge University, top scholar. He then becomes one of the first black doctors in South London. He is part of a group called the League of Coloured Peoples. He's a founder member. This group is set up in 1931, and they actually campaign against racism, for equality, etc. They fight against inequality when it comes to housing, discrimination, employment. And he also becomes one of the first black people in the British Medical Association. He also trains doctors in Ghana, and he also invented a rule which helped children across the world. And this guy is not as well known as he should be. So he's actually in my book. We plan to put a plaque in his honor in April to recognize his amazing background.
I saw your reaction when I asked you that question. I saw your passion when you told the story. That's interesting. Why the connection in that way for you? That emotional connection to telling that story?
Well, one thing, he went to Comrie. I went to Comrie as well, right? And I did not know this guy. This guy was a legend in his time from, let's say, 1920 to 1976 when he died. This guy was doing so much work. He was working with people like George Padmore, people like W.D. Du Bois, the famous African-American activist. He was coordinating Pan-African groups. He was central to the whole fight for equality in the UK when it came to the laws, when it came to education, housing, employment. He was doing all this kind of work, and yet his name is not that well known. Plus, even to this very day, right, there's a prize at Cambridge University called the Cecil Belfield Clark Prize, awarded to the top student for biology, which is still given in his name to this day. So imagine he's a black guy back in the 1950s making his mark at Cambridge, and he's still recognized to this very day, but people don't really know him. So that's why I thought, let me put this guy in my book and tell other stories like that.
That is fantastic. And at that time, Cambridge would have been a predominantly white university. And so, you know, to be able to be recognized still to this day for that kind of contribution, not to be seen as an oddity, but for someone who made a significant contribution to the development of education indeed. And so you're chronicling all of these stories, and you're telling it in the book, and you're also telling it through the walks. What's been the response to the invitation to people to join you on those walks so that they walk almost in the footsteps of those who you've written about?
Yeah, people are really impressed, quite moved, quite inspired. I've had people tell me they've actually gone to research their own personal family history. I've had people tell me that they've then gone on to actual courses to learn more about this history. And it's given them a newfound sense of confidence and ambition with regard to how far back, how detailed, and how kind of inspiring the stories are. Because, I mean, Cecil Belford Clarke is just one person. I could talk about Dr. Harold Moody, who was a Jamaican doctor who also was part of the League of Coloured People. And guess what? The League of Coloured People was first established at the YMCA in London, in Great Russell Street, where there's a plaque in honor of Harold Moody to this day. So you had all these black doctors working across Africa, the Caribbean, America, to kind of fight for people's rights. And their legacy is what I stand on right now.
This is so interesting indeed. And so this is in the book, folks. The book is called Black History Walks Volume 1. That means that there are other volumes to come. Now, are there any significant black women of the time, and what stories do you have to tell of them?
Well, I suppose the easiest one is Claudia Jones. Now, Claudia Jones was a Trinidadian woman who came to the UK in the 1950s, and she helped set up what is now called the Notting Hill Carnival. But what she was doing before Carnival we came across is that she was also involved in fighting for people to get jobs on the buses, to get jobs in banks. She fought against racist legislation when it came to restricting the number of black people who actually enter the UK. But she was such a massive cultural influence that she also established one of the first black newspapers, the West Indian Gazette. And she, again, brought people together, and she is another legend who's in the book as well. And actually now, she's actually taught at GCSE level in schools because of the other book I did with Pearson Education, to actually kind of establish this black history in schools.
Well, you know, what your book serves, to my mind, is to help us to place us within true context. I mean, true context. Oftentimes we drift through times and spaces and we wonder, where am I in relation to? And now you see in the pages of your book, you are in relation to these who've gone before, who have done these outstanding things. A lot of times too, people left the Caribbean to go to the UK to study nursing. Are there any stories of nurses and their contribution to nursing as well?
Man, there's a whole bunch of nurses, because my mum was a nurse. My mum's in the book. And here's a story, like my mum kind of was sponsored by her uncle in New York. So he paid for her education, for her travel, for her dresses, and my mum never met that uncle until she was 33 years old with 3 children.
Wow.
So he paid for her to go to the UK back in the early 50s. She then studied to become a nurse, and he sponsored the whole time. And so, of course, if it wasn't for him, I might not even be around. But then my mum has to go for the whole kind of system of working in the NHS, which was a bit racist at that time. And I talk about what she went through in that, for example, when she was trying to get a job as a nurse, she actually had to go to interviews. And to look after her baby while she went away, she got this babysitter to look after me, basically. And when she came back, the babysitter told her that the landlord would come around to collect the rent and said, if that baby, me, is there when I come back next month, you'll be kicked out of this house. Wow. So that's how his situation was when she was trying to get a job as a nurse, that she had a hard time getting a babysitter because this landlord didn't want to have a 1-year-old black baby in his house. That's how bad it was. And she had to kind of get through that.
Wow. No, I'm sitting captivated by the stories indeed. And that's so important for us to really get a book to see for ourselves the stories of those of whom you've written in the Black History Walks, indeed. Now, you provide in the UK lots of tours, not just on foot, but by tram, by train, and the different modes of transportation from spot to spot to spot. So for our viewers in the United Kingdom right now, you're in Barbados, but when you get back, you'll be, I'm sure, organizing some more tours, right?
Yeah, we got a Black History bus tour, 3 hours long, goes all over the capital, and we show people the Black History from a double-decker bus. Then we have a river cruise. So basically, you know, River Thames is there, and we have a cruise that goes from Embankment up to Vauxhall down to Greenwich. And on the way, we show people the Black history in the river itself on either side of the river. And we also have people in costume, in character, who play people from the past, and they speak on the microphone about their experiences and adventures. So it's and also we have a bit of music on board as well. So it's a combination of education, travel, a bit of a party towards the end. But it's unique, it's very unusual, and we use the funds raised from that to put up plaques in honor of famous black people like Dr. Harold Moody and also Dr. Cecil Belford Clarke.
That's beautiful. You mentioned music just a moment ago, and I wanted to drift there eventually, you know, because even in traveling to the United Kingdom, a lot of people from the Caribbean would have influenced the kinds of music that the people in the United Kingdom got to enjoy, and then it changed the sound of the music. Have you been able to identify any black people there and their contribution to music development in the UK?
Absolutely. I mean, in the book, we mentioned a guy called Edric Connor. Edric Connor is a Trinidadian. He would collect kind of folkloric stories and folkloric music from the Caribbean and then perform that music in London. And he was the guy who was in charge of the music selection for the 1951 Festival of Britain. And that's the first time we heard steel pan music in the public arena. So he actually brought in guys from Trinidad, and they played some fantastic steel pan music, and that then begins the introduction of steel pan to the world, because once they established themselves in London, they then go to Paris, New York, and you can find some of the biggest top 10 hits now have steel pan in them. So there's a song by 50 Cent called PIMP that's got steel pan in it. There's a song by Soulja Boy, I forget it's called Crank that has steel pan in it. But you can trace this steel pan being used in these big top 10 hits right back to Edric Connor from Trinidad and the Festival of Britain.
You're a historian?
I suppose you could say that.
Because what you're describing to me sounds like the work of a historian. Would one describe you as such?
I think so, yeah.
I like that. Very
I should also
very
mention one more thing about the book is that it's also on Audible too. So it's not just a textbook. You can actually, if you buy the book, you can have an Audible version just to listen to it, and it's my voice reading the text, the 90,000 words, 450 pages. It's my voice, and I had to audition for the role. So yeah, I had to audition for it and kind of read into a microphone and stuff. It took me 5 days to record. But if you get the Audible version, it's my voice doing the talking. So it's quite interesting.
This is fantastic. It is such a joy talking to Mr. Warner, Anthony Warner, the author of the book Black History Walks, Volume 1. You can get the audio, you can get the hard copy or soft copy if you choose to do so. And it is so engaging, so involved, so rich in history. And certainly as we mark this month in particular, Black History Month, and all through the year, because that's who we are. We need to know our past. We need to know those who've been a part of our past. We need to know those on whose shoulders we truly stand. And you can get a lot of it through the pages of that book. Mr. Warner, thank you so much for engaging with us this morning, and it is just awesome. I really hope a lot of people really grab hold of all of the knowledge there in those pages as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Ciao.
You're very welcome indeed. Anthony Warner is his name. He's the author of the book Black History Walks, Volume 1. It's available online. It's available in your bookstores. It's available in audio as well. And when he gets back, more tours continuing indeed as Black History Walks are conducted in the UK. We'll take a break here. Oh, no, we don't. I have a person of Black History note to share with you as well. Can we do that now? Yes, I can. As we mark Black History Month this month, we want to talk a little bit about Alice Coachman. Alice Coachman, if you didn't know her, in 1948, she became the first black woman in the world to win an Olympic gold medal while competing in the high jump. Her name is Alice Coachman. Let no one fool you. She was black, and in 1948, she was the first black woman to win an Olympic gold medal for high jump. Congratulations indeed for anyone related to her. All right, a break right here. When we're coming back, I have the news for you. Stay with us.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to MaxPack Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for our new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity.
COVID would have put a kind of setback on a lot of the programs in terms of interaction that we would have been having previously, but I feel very strongly that over the next few months, once things continue along this current trajectory, that we should certainly be able to have more activities, get people outside, get people burning off a lot of that energy, creating spaces within the community that people can, free up themselves and again, burn off a lot of pent-up energy that they might have. And I think that, again, these types of programs are certainly helping to ease the pressure on parents, because parents on a Saturday morning know that they can send their children here. Their children are going to not only be in the program, be getting some kind of wholesome information, but we also make sure that the children are fed.
A local tune of the crop has caught the attention and translated to the pages of Forbes magazine. You Like Mobby, sung by Bruce Lee Almighty and produced by the Noise Boys, has been highlighted, and the story told of Mobby. One of the Noise Boys, Everson Brown, told CBC News it's a good feeling.
I feel great about the recognition from Forbes, being a team member of Noise Boys, and Forbes being an international media company to recognize us for our track, our song, being Road March of 2020. You know, it is a great feeling to be seen by an international media company.
The appearance of the article came as a surprise because they did not know it was coming.
I had no idea that the article was being written. I was actually home at the point in time when I found out about it. My business partner, because Noise Boys is a team of three. He messaged in our group chat and he screenshot the article and sent it to me, and I was taken back again. Like, it is Forbes. It is Forbes, a major international media company, and being a producer from the small island of Barbados and being seen and recognized at that level is a great feeling.
Government is bolstering its cyber defense systems in the wake of recent cyber attacks at several of its institutions. According to the Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, Davidson Ishel, a lot of progress has been made in securing networks. However, he admits there is always room for improvement.
We're nowhere near where we should be in terms of our maturity overall, but we are making significant strides to get us where we should be. And it doesn't mean that we're a victim. It doesn't mean that we're open. There's no open day on Barbados relative to our cyberspace and our cybersecurity. We have significant infrastructure in place. We have a data center that is fully protected. We have several critical assets across the government service that are protected in many different ways and to many different degrees, things that I can't share with you, of course, but we have several layers of protection on the critical assets of Barbados. So I would say to Barbadians, you don't have to fear that your data or your information is going to be breached in any significant way. But what I would say to us is that the fact remains that cybersecurity is a dynamic area.
Minister Ishmael says training of employees is extremely important going forward.
Cybersecurity training is a major component of the spending that we're going to be doing and that we've budgeted for this fiscal year coming up, 2023-2024. Cybersecurity training is a major component of that. Across the public service and then and the wider Barbados as well. As you rightly said, there are many times where some of these incidents start by somebody just clicking a link that they should not have clicked, and a little bit of public education, a little bit of knowledge being shared, a little bit of training. And I've actually asked my team, I've given instructions to my team to start to have those conversations with the public service and of course with wider Barbados. And I said, create little videos, short videos that say, hey, don't click on a malicious link from somebody you don't know. The different little things. Some people know this already, but there's still a lot of persons out there who are not as au fait technologically as we would like them to be. Our job as the ministry is responsible for innovation and for science and for technology is to bring our people along as much as possible.
Well, that's our news until now. We'll have more news here on TV8 at 12 noon in the CBC Newsday. Morning Barbados continues in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The crazy crew with which I work, I love them. I just love working with this bunch of crazy people indeed. We're 8 minutes now after 7 o'clock as we turn our attention to love and life and relationships. We do all of that on a Monday indeed with our relationship coach, Dr. Denise Charles. Dr. Denise, good morning. Oh, look at you.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
Oh, great. Look at you. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Had a great weekend. Looking forward to another good week.
That is great. You know, as I was driving out of here the other day, I was passing the SJP and I said, wait, look at Denise. Did you know that? Did you know that? That there is a banner on the SJPI with you and Gabriel?
Pearson? Yes.
Well done indeed.
We are multi-talented and multifaceted.
Clearly so indeed. How was date night, by the way, on Friday?
It was really good. We had some great interaction with our guests because what we do, in addition to dancing and sipping our wine and chatting between ourselves, we also entertain those who watch. So we had some great comments and some great discussion coming out of our topic, which was loving a woman.
Oh, yeah. And that could be a challenge in itself.
Exactly. I mean, the book on that has not yet been finished.
I don't think it ever will.
Never be complete.
Correct indeed. And so, folks, this is the mood that we're in because, relationships have the good times and the bad times, but we can laugh through relationships. But there are times, Dr. Denise, when, for some reason, some other noise gets into it, and I'll call that the third party for just a moment. Whether that noise comes by way of a good friend or not, whether it comes by way of the mother-in-law, whether it comes by way of the sister or whoever, the third party, and what that can do for a relationship. I want you to look at that for just a moment with me.
All right, Pearson, I think this is one of the most critical areas that I interface with, certainly, or I have looked at as a counselor, as a writer on relationships, the whole question of the third party. Now, I know immediately in our Bajan parlance, as we hear this, we're going to think about horning. which I know occupies all of our thinking, you know, where this is concerned. But as you rightfully said, it can span a gamut of types of interferences in a relationship. So yes, we do have that traditional infidelity that we are so acquainted with what we call hurling in Barbados. And then you have also interferences from other people. You may have interferences, as you rightfully said, from a mother-in-law. You might have it from a good friend, someone of the opposite sex that you have connected with. You may not be into an affair, but it could still disturb the relationship. So I think that what to me is very important with respect to this topic, Pearson, is the whole question of creating boundaries and understanding what those boundaries should be, what they should look like, and how you need to put them into operation from the get-go in your relationship. So whether you're married or not, you have to create those boundaries. You have to actually start practicing this from even before you're married, because if you don't, you're going to run yourself in trouble.
You're so right. You know, I have friends of mine who said, but Pearson, you're so harsh. I said, no, I set the rules. If you're going to have this friendship, I set the rules. You can set yours too, but I'll say to you what I want, what I expect, and what I will not tolerate. All of those kinds of things I determine up front. So if you want to be my friend, expect to hear some rules. But because I think it is important that you set those boundaries that you've just defined, you know, so that I know and you know where the lines are drawn and that we understand each other perfectly so we avoid conflicts and confusion.
Pearson, it's also very critical for the couple to have an agreement about what those boundaries are going to look like. Because if I decide that my boundary looks this particular way because of my values or because of what I believe about a relationship, but my partner or my husband sets a different set of boundaries that are nowhere near mine, then we could easily run ourselves into problems, because I'm going to become unhappy because I'm thinking that he's not living up to the boundaries that I have set. So this isn't something that we can do in isolation. We have to sit down and have a discussion about what the boundaries in our relationship should look like. And one of the most critical areas I speak to couples about is the whole issue of emotional connection with people of the opposite sex. That's the first thing I deal with. Because if you are married or you are in a committed relationship, we are saying that you can't have friends. Of course you can have friends. You'll have your colleagues, you'll have people that you've known before your partner, that you've known before your spouse. You know, there'll be people that you connect with and so on that you like. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to set boundaries with respect to how close you're going to get to that person, how much you will expose of yourself, how much you will expose of your relationship. Because how things go with us as human beings, the more we expose of ourselves to someone, the closer we become connected. And when we become closely connected, we become emotionally vulnerable with someone. And you don't want that, because that could interfere with the intimacy of your significant relationship, right? So you have to set that boundary from the get-go in terms of how close you'll get to someone of the opposite sex, what things you will do. Will you allow yourself to have lunch, to have dinner with someone of the opposite sex? Will you restrict that to perhaps a work colleague, and know that within the context of work it's okay to have a lunch, you know, a lunch date or so with someone in your office? Or will you allow that to spill over into after hours? Will you have dinner with someone who is not your partner? You know, so these are discussions that you need to have, because while these things may seem innocent at the outset, it is the potential danger that they hold that can be problematic. And that is what we have to guard against when we're thinking of the third party. Because if you become too connected emotionally with someone else who you shouldn't be connected with, then that begins to interfere with your own relationship. And even if that, especially if that relationship is having challenges, because you're having challenges in your marriage or in your significant relationship, and you begin to discuss it with someone of the opposite sex that you've gotten close to, you are in a serious danger zone, Pearson. Serious.
You're right.
Right? And this is something you have to guard against.
But what if it's my nature just to be friendly and, you know, like to confide with other people, that kind of thing?
Nothing is wrong with being friendly. Nothing is wrong with being friendly. And you have to understand your relationship. You have to understand the heartbeat of your relationship. You have to understand who your partner is and who you are. You know, my husband and I are like polar opposites in some respects, even though we're still very similar. You know, he is an extremely warm person. And it's not that I am not warm, but take time to warm up to you. You know, when I get to know you, I warm up to you gradually. Whereas he runs in the get-go. That's how his personality is and always has been. So you have to know your partner and understand what type of personality your partner has, so you're not too hard on them and you don't misread and read something into every connection that they have. You don't want to get paranoid and begin to accuse your partner of having an affair or of being inappropriate, because that's the next negative thing that could come out of something like this. But at the same time, you don't want to be accusatory and you don't want to be always thinking, being suspicious. You still have to be on the alert. Your partner has to be on the alert. Actually, the responsibility lies with the individual who has made the friend. All right. So if I'm the person who has the friendship, that responsibility really should lie with me. It shouldn't lie with my husband checking my phone and checking my every move to see if I'm doing something inappropriate, right? So you have to own it. You have to be responsible for yourself. You're not a little child. You're an adult. You're in an adult relationship. You have to be responsible for yourself. Having said that, we know that we are not perfect as individuals.
Yes.
We have our own histories. We have our own baggages. And sometimes we bring a lot of that into relationships. And as a result, we make bad choices, make bad decisions. If you are not in a space where you communicate well with your spouse, if when things go south with the two of you, you retreat and you refuse to talk and you go for days, you stonewall, you don't let your partner know how you feel about things, and you are putting yourself in a very volatile space where you could easily become attracted to unload to someone else. And that is why it's important to pay attention to the health of your relationship, because the healthier your relationship is, the better it is guaranteed to stave off inappropriate attachments, whether emotional or sexual.
You're right. You're so right on that score. I agree with you. Our thinking is the same. When it's the sister, though, so she calls her sister and you wouldn't believe what he just did or what he just said or where he just went.
Yes.
It's the sister. Can the sister be considered the third party who has that negative impact on the relationship?
Pearson, the sister, the mother, the best friend, anyone can be considered the third wheel in a relationship if that person's advice or if that person's role it steps outside of the boundaries. Now, I'm not saying that you can never unpack to anyone. I'm not one of those who says, if you are in a relationship, you have to keep it totally between the two. You never speak to anyone about anything. I don't think that's healthy. I think you have to decide who will be the individuals you share with. It may be one person, it may be two. The individual should be trusted. The individual should be someone is trustworthy. The person should be someone who loves both of you, not just you, but the person should be someone who loves your marriage and who wants to see your marriage work. You don't want to be sharing with someone who hates marriage, someone who's been divorced and is very bitter, who has not gotten over it, who is egging you on to get a divorce if you're having problems. That's the worst type of person to speak to. So it has to be balanced. You don't want to speak to someone else who's also going to be advising you to accept and put up with abuse or to put up with infidelity. So you have to have that correct. The person has to love you, because as I said in one of our earlier programs, Pearson, when you love someone, you really want what is best for them. And no one should be telling you what to do. No one should be telling you what to do, giving you the advice which is a demand, or is telling you, oh, you must do this, you must do that. You have to make your own decisions. But I think it is important to have someone that you can offload to. But at the same time, you have to watch what role that person is playing. And it can't be that every time there's a disagreement, you're calling mommy or you're calling daddy or you're calling your sister or you're calling your brother. You have to have that sense of loyalty within your relationship. The stronger you are as a person, the more mature you are as a person, the easier it will be for you to handle your own issues by yourself. But at the same time, I don't want to suggest that if you look to someone, or if you look to a counselor, if you look to a good trusted friend who you think has a mature perspective, that means you're weak, because it doesn't. You're actually a stronger person for being someone who wants to share your issues or challenges with someone, so that you can get help and so that the marriage can improve or the relationship can improve if you're not married. So I think it is something that we have to balance. I think it is important that we open to other people appropriately. You may not share every single thing, and it becomes dangerous, I think, if every time you're sharing something, it's something negative. Every time you're calling your sister to complain about your partner, it's a problem. Call her and say, you know what he did for me today? He took me to the spa. He gave me a pedicure, you know. He's taking me on a cruise for Valentine's. He's doing this, he's doing that. We just spent some wonderful time just, you know, at the beach. Things that are positive as well. If every time you're calling, you're complaining, I have a problem with that. You need to look at your relationship.
You are such a January born for real. I'm telling you, your way of thinking is so similar to mine. Now, if you find yourself being pulled in as a third party, how do you handle this? How do you butt out? How do you tell yourself, I'm out of this, I'm not staying in this at all?
Again, it's about how you feel about the couple. If you love this couple or you appreciate them, and even if you're closer to one of the individuals, because you might have known her from school days, y'all might have gone to university together, or you worked in some organization together for a long time, so you're really good friends, and over the years you've built up the friendship. She may be the person who you really know, but in the context of the relationship, you appreciate the marriage and you want to see it work. If you think she's turning to you too much, or he is turning to you too much, if it's a male, then I think you should say it. There's no magic way of getting out of it. You have to let them know, you know, I appreciate the things you've been sharing with me. I understand what you may be going through, but I think that you need to work on this by yourself, or I think you need to see a professional. You know, I'll be here for you if anything gets really off. You know, if it gets worse, I'm still here for you to support you. But, you know, I don't prefer to hear these details. You can say that. You know, you don't have to be somebody who's just there looking to take in every spicy detail or every even deplorable detail. Sometimes, you know, we as human beings, we just thrive on listening to the worst things. But if your motive is good and it's all about helping them and helping them to move on in their relationship, or your motive is in getting them help, then I think there's nothing to worry about. I think you'll be able to manage just fine in terms of how you seek to bring balance to the individual, and perhaps point them in the direction of professional help if you think you're not able to offer the type of assistance that they really need.
You have shared so much this morning, Dr. Denise Charles. It was really, really good indeed. Really, really good. I mean, folks, really, really good. And so I want you to contact Dr. Denise Charles if you care to, and she'll be happy to respond. She's on social media. Just look for it, Dr. Denise Charles, and you can reach out to her if you want to discuss further this subject of the third party and how that impacts your relationship and what you can do to find a more happy space in which to live. Dr. Denise Charles, thank you. We'll be contacting you to work out what we will talk about next. But thank you as always for joining us on Morning Barbados.
Blessings. Have a great day.
Likewise. What a great exchange indeed. We're coming back with more on Morning Barbados in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 25 minutes now after 7 o'clock as we meet a Bajan afar. This Bajan lives in the United Kingdom. This Bajan is a business analyst. This Bajan actually went to college in Paris School. This Bajan is Warren Sandiford. Warren Sandiford, good morning to you.
Morning, Pearson, and morning, Barbados.
Good to have you on with us this morning. Now, I also went to college in Paris School, by the way. So, hail up, my friend. So, here it is now. Good to see you, buddy. Are you in the United Kingdom at the moment?
No, I'm in Barbados.
You're
I was
here.
due to return last week Tuesday, but I'm staying until Monday. I've got some unfinished business.
You have someone. Okay, so you're here on business, to do some business indeed. How is it?
Well, I'm working at the same time as well.
Oh, you never stop. You just never stop. And that's the whole point. What was it that took you from Barbados to the United Kingdom in the first place?
Well, my parents were living in London, and effectively they sent for myself and my two siblings back in 1970.
Upplanted from Barbados and brought to the United Kingdom and supplanted into a totally different society.
Very, very different. For one thing, at that time, I think 60% of the black people in London were from Jamaica. I couldn't understand a word of everything.
But you quickly got it. You quickly understood.
Yeah, you have no choice. You have no choice.
Yes. What was it like having to give up the Bajan way just to adopt the UK way? What was that like?
Very, very difficult, because life in the UK is mainly indoors because of the weather, for one thing. And also, it's not conducive to a life outdoors that I'd become accustomed to in Barbados.
Yeah, yeah. Your thing in Barbados was, I'm going out. We're going places. We're interacting with others who we know. And there was now in the United Kingdom, someone walks by and they don't even speak. You don't know who they are. So acclimatizing yourself would have been interesting indeed. But you were able to do so. And how was it what did you have to do to be able to acclimatize yourself and become familiar with everyone?
Just basically interact with the other people around me, listen to some of their stories and advice and what have you, and just basically adjust and learn to live that, to me, limited lifestyle.
Did you ever go through that point at which you said to yourself, geez, I just want to go home. I don't want this anymore. I just want to go back to life as I knew it.
Every day. Almost every day. Even now.
Even now. So what is it about home that makes you yearn for it even now?
The camaraderie, the fact that I've got so many relatives and friends here. I mean, I think in my particular case it's a little bit different, because an awful lot of Bajans that emigrate abroad just turn their back on their friends and family in Barbados altogether. So they fish out of water. Whereas with me, as soon as I could possibly afford to do so, I started to return to Barbados regularly, reconnected with friends and family here. And that was 10 years later, in the early 80s.
Right. And that you've been back ever since. And that's so important. You're quite right, to stay connected with. That keeps you grounded, that keeps you who you are, that keeps you sane almost. And so in the new culture and the Barbados culture, were there any things other than the ability to socialize in the way that you like to? Was there anything else that made you think, Barbados is? And if so, what comes after Barbados is for you?
I think it's the food and the general lifestyle, being able to just simply hang out in line at a moment's notice. That sort of thing is pretty much impossible in the UK.
Yeah, but I'm sure you would have met people who said, oh, you're from Barbados. I know there. I've been there, whatever the case may be. And if you did, what kinds of conversations would you have had with those who said, I know where you're from?
Well, it's an interesting question, but I also, I'll answer that in a minute, but I've also met lots of UK-based people who, strangely enough, still believe that the likes of Barbados are part of Jamaica.
Really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're out there, lots of them. But no, I've met up with lots of people who, both in my working life and personally socializing, etc., who've been to Barbados. Many of them been to Barbados several times, and they actually know the area where I come from, down the west coast in St. James. So, yeah, there's lots of people out there who are very familiar with the island.
Now, you work as a business analyst, but you were also previously a computer programmer. How different are those two skills?
Programming is very finely focused. you're looking at a level that is so finely focused. You're looking at logic. You're trying to think of all possible permutations of process of a given process or an aspect of a process. Whereas business analyst, it's far more of a generalist role. You're looking at things from a much broader perspective, from the perspective of business and from the perspective of IT as well. Because we, as business analysts, act as the liaison between the business and IT. We convert business requirements into specifications that programmers and the like can work from.
When you stop to think for just a moment of yourself, this little boy from St. James who emigrated to the United Kingdom, who had a chance to, you know, and you had a chance to work with Lloyd's Bank, you had a chance to work with the BBC and consult with them and so forth. When you stop for just a moment and that dwells on your spirit, what do you think, how do you feel when you project when you reflect on your life and when you look at your future?
To be quite honest, I've become so accustomed to working for these major organizations that it no longer bothers. I don't think about it at all. In the early days, perhaps I did, when I was working for the likes of Zanussi and companies like that, and Hitachi. But now, as a programmer, it doesn't faze me in the least. I'm so accustomed to working for major corporations and organizations, multinational companies, that you just don't think about it. It's just another job, just another day at the office.
Just another day at the office. When you're home, do you ever get a chance to go up to the campus, to the Coleridge and Parry School? Have you ever been back to school?
Not really. My time in Barbados is so full that there's so many people that I never get around to visiting, much less the old school.
Yes.
I'm always in trouble whenever I return.
You should, on one of these trips, just take a drive right back up to the school. I'm sure the memories would flood you once again over Ashton Hall, and you're right there indeed. Now, when you come home to Barbados, just out of curiosity, where are some of the places you love to go? Well,
there's the usual haunts, like Oystins and First Street and so on and so forth. But to be perfectly honest, there's a whole little boy with relatives in Paynes Bay. I just like to go to the beach in Paynes Bay. And just basically hang out with some of my homeboys. But unfortunately, on this trip, because I'm working remotely from home on weekdays, and I'm staying at my place up in Crystal Heights, and I don't have transport at the present moment, it's rather difficult for me to get to the beach. But typically, most days I'd go to the beach first thing early in the morning before doing anything.
And is there any Bajan food that you go like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to sink my teeth into? And if so, what is that?
But it's got to be sauce or cuckoo.
You are so Bajan, indeed. So I love it. Sauce or cuckoo. Listen, Warren, it is such a pleasure talking to you this morning. You know, we wanted to meet some Bajans from afar to see what they're doing, what they're up to, and how they are continuing to survive, because Bajans are survivors. You're doing very, very well your sphere of business as a business analyst and as a former computer programmer as well, and you continue to make us so very proud. Our immense pleasure talking to you this morning, and it's good to have you back. And as I caution you again, please take some time to take a trip up to Coleridge and Parry School. It's going to do you good. It's going to do you good. Indeed. Take it from me. Take it from me. I go pretty often. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And have a good day.
Bye now.
Mornin Barbados comes back in just a moment. When we come back, by the way, we're going to meet a Bajan who lived in Russia and who left Russia for a reason. Stay with us.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you. Our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at Mornin Barbados at cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Max Pack Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for our new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day.
"23 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. This Bajan is afar. This Bajan is Dia Delisle, who is living in Malaysia at the moment. Dia, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. Good morning, Barbados.
Good to have you on Morning Barbados with us today. What time of day is at the moment in Malaysia?
It's actually 7:37 in the evening here. So
Okay, well,
we're 12 hours ahead.
Good. So, you know, as we like to tease, since you're 12 hours ahead, is it going to be a good day? I'm 12 hours behind. Are we going to expect a good day today? Just kidding you.
Well, the future's bright.
Good to hear that. Good to hear that. Your life has pretty much been like a rolling stone. You have been everywhere, searching for somewhere to live and to just be. Why are you that kind of way?
I'm not quite sure. I think it might be from early in my childhood. I think I went to New York. I was like 8 years old, and I did summer camp, and I lived with a family in New York. I was pretty much by myself with people who I didn't know. So maybe it started from then.
So you have that adventurous spirit to like to discover new places and new experiences. Where are some of the places you've been?
Oh, places I've been. So, of course, like you've mentioned, I've been in Russia. In the Caribbean, I've been to St. Lucia, I've been to St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad. I lived in Canada, I've been to the USA, England, a few countries in Europe, from Italy to Bulgaria, Turkey, Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Japan, Korea.
Wow.
Approximately 40 countries or so.
What a life you've lived thus far. And then you decided you're going to find yourself in Russia. Of all places on this earth, you went to Russia. What was it like, and what was it that led to that decision to go set up in Russia?
So after I was living in Canada, I went to university in Canada, and my father, he had Alzheimer's. So I came to take care of my father, and after about 18 months of taking care of my father, it was probably the most difficult time in my life. And it was very painful for me. And I didn't want to go back to Canada, and I wanted to find something new. So the last bit of money I had, I just went traveling. So I chose 10 countries that I wanted to go to. One of them was Singapore because of our first Prime Minister. He spoke about Singapore, so that was on my list. Malaysia was on my list. I was a bit of a socialist when I was younger and read a lot of Russian literature, so Russia was on my list. I also went to South Africa, Spain because of the climate, and so on. So after traveling to these 10 countries, I basically understood that I was either going to be living in Russia or Malaysia, just basically based on the feeling I had. So fast forward, I come back to Barbados, and all of a sudden, all these Russian people start coming to me. I don't know what it was, but all these like, from Russian people coming by my home in Dover, asking for mangoes, taxi drivers pulling up and asking if they can have a mango for the Russian guests in their car. So then I met a Russian girl down the street from me in St. Lawrence Gap, and I told her I was in Russia. She didn't believe me, of course. But it's a little island boy that she never heard of doing in Russia.
Yes.
And I told her, the story goes from there, a little bit of romance, a little bit of fate. I ended up in the far east of Russia.
Wow.
In a little unknown place called Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, which is actually closer to Japan than it is to anywhere in Europe. And yeah, so that's it. That's basically the long, short version of my story.
We hear that Russia is bitingly cold. How is it acclimating yourself?
Oh yeah, it is. But like I said, I lived in Canada. I went to university in Canada, and I went to university in a place called Winnipeg, which is like the coldest city in Canada, major city. So I had temperatures like minus 55, minus 56 with the wind shear. So I'm accustomed to the cold. Actually, when I was in Russia, so for example, if a lady was stuck in the snow and I got up to help her shovel her out the snow, they would always ask me like, "Why are you not wearing a jacket? Why are you wearing the gloves?" Because they always think I'm from Cuba or something like that, right? So yeah, I'm quite. It's okay for me. Well, now I'm older. I actually don't want to live in the cold anymore.
Well, as
it's
we
for
say,
young boys,
come home, come home, come home. We have enough warmth here.
I'm planning to. Unfortunately, because of the circumstances, my plan for coming home is a little bit delayed because of financial reasons. Because of
That's all right. That's all right. But then, you know, Russia is in the news, and Russia is not in the news necessarily for great reasons. I mean, there's a war ongoing. So what was it that caused you to leave Russia? I hope you got out in time.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I did get out in time. I don't really want to go too deep into it because my family still lives in Russia. I still have 2 children in Russia. But I will go as deep as I feel comfortable for obvious reasons. So basically, things in Russia started to change. It was obvious to me that these things were changing. And I saw that it was time to move on. It was very profitable for me to live in Russia when I did. So basically, I moved my business online.
And now Malaysia
I moved to Turkey. Pardon me, sorry?
Malaysia is now your base. That's where you are at the moment.
I'm actually in Malaysia at the moment. When I left Russia, I was living in Turkey. But because of the war and the situation, things have also changed in Turkey. It's no longer so easy to reside and live in Turkey. So actually, I'm actually looking for a base where I can make business and live for a while and find a source for where I can do my business while I come back to Barbados, so I can still make my money online, basically. Yeah.
You know, we Bajans, we like to say to ourselves, what the France am I doing here? You know, we ask ourselves that sometimes when we're met with circumstances that we don't feel comfortable in. Did you ever ask yourself that question? What the France am I doing here?
Yeah, I said a few Jesus Christmas and maybe not so other nice words here and there sometimes, especially coming up to the end, because when I was there, you can actually see what was happening, the rules that were changing, and the disappearance of like freedom of speech. Because people might think that in Russia you don't have freedom of speech. Actually, in Russia, I would say you have more freedom of speech than lots of other countries like Canada, maybe in Europe that I've been in. You can actually, you know, there's no political correctness in Russia or whatever. You can say whatever you want. And that changed. When that changed, and as I said before, I'm older now. I'm no longer spring chicken or young duck. So the cold started to bite, you know.
Yes.
And I was like, cheese on bread. This is too much for me, basically. So I'm like, you know. So it was partially the political situation on the ground, as well as my body just, boy, you born in Barbados. place. Go back where you belong. You know. So
I do understand. But you know, a part of your travels would have required you, no doubt, to not simply acclimatize and get accustomed to the food, to the language, and so forth, but being able to speak it and spell it, because Russian, for instance, is not easy to spell, not even to speak in the first place. How is it for you learning the language and learning the syntax to that language?
Well, you know, the thing is that I've learned a few languages in my life. Unfortunately for me, I've never stuck to them and mastered them. So when I studied Russian, at the beginning, I would say things in French. And now basically French has disappeared from mine, and learning Russian was, I would say it was quite difficult. The language is quite complicated, like you said. The alphabet's not that difficult, but yeah, it took a lot of work, and I would say for the amount of work I put in, my results weren't so high, and it's very difficult. The grammar is very complicated, and I can tell you a lot about that because I teach English, so I understand. Like, it's really complicated. But I've tried to learn Arabic and Korean as well, and I would say they're a bit more difficult than Russian.
A bit more difficult than Russian. Okay. So you say, no problem. For all of us, it's like, wow, it's so far out there that one never doesn't want to try it in the first place. How has it been though in Malaysia? You know, how different from our own Barbadian experience is Malaysia?
What I would say about Malaysia, this is my second time being in Malaysia, and Malaysia, what's funny is that I came to Malaysia in Chinese. So I thought Chinese New Year was like one day. It turned out to be 15 days. And they're quite a noisy bunch here. So what would I say about Malaysia? The difference, the similarities, they're kind of warm if you compare them to northern people. And maybe they like some spicy food. That's in terms of similarities. Obviously in Malaysia, the influence of Islam and Chinese culture is big. We have also Indian community here in Malaysia, so I can see these are similarities, as well as the British Empire. So those little similarities as well between the British Empire and having the Indian community in Barbados. I actually see how much our culture in Barbados is actually influenced by our Indian community. But the big difference I would say would be, like I said, the Islamic influence and the Chinese influence.
How often do you have to check yourself just to be sure that you don't in any way injure somebody's cultural understanding and cultural practices and find yourself on the side of an offense? How often do you have to do that?
It's not easy. It's not easy because you have to take into perspective the person's culture as well, the person's individuality, and because the world's changing so much right now. Because it's more open, everything's a little bit more open. People are learning things from outside. So you even sometimes when you try to take a person's culture into consideration, you can get a little bit of a backlash because they say, hey, you know, I'm a Western person, or, you know, they want to be seen as it's very difficult at times. But usually, you know, there are good characters everywhere and there are bad apples as well. And for some reason, I have a magnetic feel for the good ones.
Oh, wonderful.
The bad ones stay with me.
That's good. That's great. How do you stay connected with Barbados in terms of access of information, inspiration even from Barbados?
Well, thank the Heavenly Father for WhatsApp. You know, WhatsApp is there, and of course, social media is a good one as well. So I'm in contact with people in Barbados every day. I'm in a few WhatsApp groups about Premier League football, and other discussions come up about politics, and you know, a little lick milking and you know, gossiping as well comes up. So,
do you cook at all?
Yes, I do. I love cooking.
Oh, great to hear that. Do you try Bajan recipes?
Of course, I have to try Bajan recipes. Bajan recipes is my romantic secret.
Aye.
For anyone out there, if you're traveling abroad and you want to make that person feel love or get a connection, you need to know a couple of Bajan recipes. And you know, you need to have it. And so, yeah, it's not so easy, obviously, to do certain recipes. I mostly make pudding, like steamed pudding, and I make it with a little bit of ital sauce because I don't eat pork.
Yes.
And I try to make a little roti. The roti skin is so easy sometimes. It's really hit or miss. I was really disappointed. I was in Sri Lanka last month and breadfruit wasn't in season. And I was just watching these breadfruits on the tree and just like, geez, come on, man, hurry up. And yeah, so I try to do what I can with the resources I have.
Well, that's good. What is ital sauce, by the way? What do you put into ital sauce?
Ital sauce. Okay, so I'm no Rasta, by the way, but shout outs to all my Rastas in Barbados. So basically, it's cucumber. Wait, Pearson, you know what sauce though?
Listen, I want to hear from you.
So basically, it's just the cucumber with the lemon, the onion. There's no scotch bonnet, difficult to find. So chili, lemon or lime, salt. You put it to set. If I could find a breadfruit, breadfruit going in there. Yeah, that's it. That's basically ital. If you want, I can email you the recipe.
You're talking like a good Bajan. That's wonderful. But even in saying that in itself, hearing the Bajan coming back from you in Malaysia makes me feel good. How is it that you're able to retain the sound of Barbados, given everything that you've experienced so far in your travels?
Well, when I was a youngster and my first trip to New York, and people were teasing me about my accent, and I felt like, yeah, I had to change my accent. But when I came back to Barbados, I would always kind of make fun of the Bajans. Maybe it's a bad thing.
Yes.
I would make fun of the Bajans who would come back and sounding so Yankee or so British. I apologize to everyone out there who's like that. And I just decided at a very young age that wouldn't be me.
Yes.
So obviously I'm teaching English. And because of teaching English, I usually have to use an accent that people want. So people usually want a North American accent, and I do that. And I give it to them for professional reasons. But when I come home, I try to, I don't even try, it just comes natural.
Yes.
And if my head gets hot, God help you.
Indeed. The music. What kinds of music do you like?
Well, now that I'm an old head, I'm not so big into the music, but every little once in a while I like a little Rick or a Crossfire, the old songs from the 90s.
Yes.
Still vibrate in my mind, and they still, like, even right now I'm saying I feel that warm feeling inside my soul. I don't know, you can see the little bumps on my skin.
The bumps raised, yes. That is great, and I'm so glad we've been able to have that reaction in you, because oftentimes when you find yourself somewhere else and you're yearning for something familiar, music tends to connect you immediately. And so it's good to know that there are some local artists who you like and whose music you treasure and whose memories you have indeed. So were you one of those party boys when you were in Barbados? And if so, are you still partying while you're there?
I have my party days, Boatyard and whatever else, in the Gap as well. I have my party days when I was younger, of course. And even when I came back to Barbados, I'm living in Dover. So, it's hard. Like, even if I don't want to party, everybody will come knock on my door and say, yo, D, let's go. Let's grab a couple sundowners and, the party starts, right?
Yes. Now, for those who don't know, you're a past student of the Columbia School, up and on. I'll say it for you guys. Yes, that's all right. You would have worked at You would have worked at Cardi. You would have worked at the West Indies Rum Distillery as well. And so, all of this you've been able to achieve in your relatively short space of time on Earth. Have you thought for just one moment to document what you've done so far and document your travels?
Yes, I've been documenting my travels a bit. I started a YouTube channel, and also I've written a few stories. I wouldn't really say it's I've documented my life in these stories. So I have a novel which is based in Barbados. It's kind of a romantic comedy.
Yes.
I've written a few short stories about Russia, and the book in Russia is called Russia Through Dark Eyes.
Ooh.
And like I said to you, because of the situation,
I like
so
that.
basically, yeah, so I'm documenting, it's like really, like I've documented, it's not like a biography,
Right.
but some experience that I've had living in Barbados, living in Russia. So I have a catalog of stories that right now I'm working on editing, as well as trying to find some financing to get them published.
Our fingers crossed for you that you get that financing to have it published, because I can't read to read your stories, because your life just feels as though it's been such a fascinating ride so far indeed. Dear Delisle, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning from Malaysia. You are a fascinating young man who's doing fascinating things and continuing to astound the world indeed. And so as a Barbadian to a Barbadian, we say thank you so much and keep doing well what you're doing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pearson, and everybody in Barbados. God bless. Have a great day, and hope to see you guys soon. Can't wait to come home.
All right, we're holding you to that. Thank you, dear, indeed. Dear, he's from Dover. He is from Dover. When he's home in Dover, he does as Dover would. You leave up to your own imagination. We're going to take a break right here. We're coming back in just a moment.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.b.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
I know I told you we were hoping to have the big man show in Manchester this morning, but he'd had to travel. He had to leave. He couldn't stick around with enough time. But all fingers crossed, we'll have it with us again tomorrow morning, all things being equal indeed. Winchester out of T&T. Before I go, I want to say good morning to a lady by the name of Roslyn and Alyssa. They're in Orange Hill, St. James. They met Roel Ford and they gave him the time of his life on the weekend. And so to you both, I say good morning. Thank you for watching us on Morning Barbados. And to Zavi Ford, good morning to you as well. Have a great day. Thank you all for joining us as well. Thanks to my production crew of Alicia Asgrant, the producer. Don Greenwich, our technical director, got them good. Roel Ford has been our assistant indeed today, and at sound has been Michael Sobers. Master controllers, of course, Tamisha Green and Pearson Boying. For all of them, to each of you, we say good morning and thank you. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special?